Hey, Prime members! Are you tired of ads interfering with your favorite podcasts? Good news! With Amazon Music, you have access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts included with your Prime membership. To start listening, download the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/ad-free podcasts. That's amazon.com/ad-free podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
Learning Spanish for Beginners podcast, Session 22. Easy ways to tell time in Spanish. Welcome to a new session of Learning Spanish for Beginners podcast. In this session, we will learn vocabulary and easy ways to tell time in Spanish you can use in everyday life. By the way, this podcast will focus on the Spanish spoken in Mexico, which you can use to communicate with Spanish speakers from all around the world. If you would like to learn Spanish faster by learning the 100 most common words in spoken Spanish, you can visit SpanishForYourJob.com/common words, where you will find a list of the most common words used in spoken Spanish. To access the list of common words, you can visit SpanishForYourJob.com/common words. Okay, let's get started. Easy ways to tell time in Spanish. This is an essential skill for beginners because it will help you manage your schedule, ask for the time, and understand appointments. Before we start telling time, let's review some essential words. Hora, hour, hora. Minuto, minute, minuto. Segundo, second, segundo. Reloj, clock or watch. Reloj. Mediodía, noon. Mediodía. Medianoche. Midnight. Medianoche. La mañana. Morning. La mañana. La tarde. Afternoon. La tarde. La noche. Evening or night. La noche. If you want to know the time, here are two common ways to ask. ¿Qué hora es? What time is it? ¿Qué hora es? ¿Me puedes decir qué hora es, por favor? Can you tell me what time it is, please? ¿Me puedes decir qué hora es, por favor? You will likely hear the response starting with es la or son las, depending on the time, but that comes next. Telling the time in Spanish. To tell the time in Spanish, you can use the verb ser, which means to be, and follow this structure. For 1 p.m., we use es la, which translates as it is, because it is singular. Here's an example. Es la una. It's 1 o'clock. Es la una. For all other hours, use son las, because they're plural, and it translates as it's the as well, but in plural. Here are a few examples. Son las dos. It's 2 o'clock. Son las dos. Son las 5. It's 5 o'clock. Son las 5. Talking about minutes past the hour. An easy way to add minutes to the hour is to use the conjunction y, which translates as and in Spanish. Here are a few examples. Es la 1:05. It's 1:05. Es la 1:05. Son las 2:10. It's 2:10. Son las 2:10. Son las 3:15. It's 3:15. Son las 3:15. Son las 4:30. It's 4:30. Son las 4:30. Son las 5:45. It's 5:45. Son las 5:45. Son las 6:50. It's 6:50. Son las 6:50. Now, let's talk about a few common variations. There are a few optional variations you can use for commonly used times if you want to sound more conversational. Let's start by talking about phrases you can use for minutes past the hour. For 15 minutes past the hour, you can use the phrase y cuarto to convey the idea of and a quarter. Here's an example. Son las 3:15. It's 3:15. Son las 3:15. For half past the hour, you can use the phrase y media, which translates as and half. Here's an example. Son las 4:30. It's 4:30. Son las 4:30. Now, let's talk about a few phrases you can use to talk about minutes to the hour. To express minutes before the next hour, you can use the word menos, which translates as minus in Spanish. Here are a few examples with the most common cases. Son las 5:10. It's 4:50, or translates as it's 5:10. Son las 5:10. Son las 6:15. It's 5:45, or it also translates as it's 6:15. Son las 6:15. Now, let's talk about a few common words and phrases you can use to talk about specific times of the day. You can specify the time of the day using phrases like these. De la mañana. in the morning. De la mañana. De la tarde. In the afternoon. De la tarde. De la noche. In the evening. De la noche. Here are a few common examples. Son las 9 de la mañana. It's 9 in the morning. Son las 9 de la mañana. Son las 3 de la tarde. It's 3 in the afternoon. Son las 3 de la tarde. Son las 8 de la noche. It's 8 in the evening. Son las 8 de la noche. For midnight and noon, you can use these phrases. Es medianoche. It's midnight. Es medianoche. Es mediodía. It's noon. Es mediodía. Now, let's review a few common additional phrases you can use to talk about time in everyday life. Here we go. ¿A qué hora? At what time? ¿A qué hora? Here's an example. ¿A qué hora es la reunión? What time is the meeting? ¿A qué hora es la reunión? Es temprano. It's early. Es temprano. Es tarde. It's late. Es tarde. Llegas a tiempo. You're on time. Llegas a tiempo. Estás atrasado. For a man, or estás atrasada for a woman. You are late. Estás atrasado for a man, or estás atrasada for a woman. Now, let's practice some examples together. I will say the time in English, and you try to say it in Spanish before I give you the answer. Here we go. 3:15. Go ahead and give it a try. I'll wait for a few seconds. 3:15. Got it? Here it is. Son las 3:15. You may notice I added son las to say it is 3:15. In this case, I said son las 3:15, and I didn't say 15, right? Which means 15. It's because I said son las 3:15, meaning it is 3:15. Let's move on to the next one. 7:30. Give it a try. 7:30. How would you say that in Spanish? Got it? Here we go. Son las 7:30. Let's move on with the next one. 11:45. How do you say that in Spanish? 11:45. Give it a try. I'll wait for you. Got it? Here we go. Son las 12 menos cuarto, which means it's 12 minus a quarter, or you could also say son las 11:45, which is it's 11:45. Son las 11:45. Next one. How do you say 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Spanish? Go ahead and give it a try. I'll wait for you. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Got it? Here it is. Es la 1 de la tarde. Well done. Finally, I want to share a quick cultural tip with you. In Spanish-speaking countries, people often use the 24-hour clock for formal settings like work schedules, travel, and TV programming. For example, las 14 horas is the equivalent of son las 2 de la tarde. Las 20:30 horas is the equivalent of las 8:30 de la noche. Being familiar with both systems will help you navigate different kinds of situations. Finally, here's a challenge. Your challenge for today is to ask someone for the time in Spanish and try to understand their response. Don't be shy. Practice makes perfect. That's all for today's session. Remember, consistency is key when learning a new language. Keep practicing, and soon you'll be a pro at telling time in Spanish. By the way, if you would like to learn Spanish faster by learning the 100 most common words in spoken Spanish, you can visit SpanishForYourJob.com/common-words, where you will find a list of the most common words used in spoken Spanish. To access the list of most common words, you can visit SpanishForYourJob.com/common-words. And if you would like to review a text version of this episode, you can access a transcript of this session at learningspanishforbeginners.com/22. Thanks for listening to Learning Spanish for Beginners podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast, please leave a review and share this podcast with one friend who also wants to learn Spanish. Gracias. See you next time. Hasta la próxima.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.